What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Gameplan NFL Week 8 DFS and Betting Angles Breakdown. We are back to break down the NFL Week 8 slate. My name is Kevin Allen, a.k.a. the Geek from DFS Army, and I've got the GOAT himself, John Statsational Alessia from the Sharp app, to break down all the games from the NFL Week 8 slate from a DFS and Betting Angles perspective. What's up, John? How you feeling, my man?
Oh, man. I would complain, but who would listen,
No one wants complaints.
No. I'm just getting old, man.
Let me tell you something. I'm just going to give you a little piece of advice here. When I say how you feeling, how you do, I don't want to know.
I know. Well, that's why I said no one's going to listen, but
feeling good.
I got to throw it out there anyway, man.
That's all I want to know. Feeling good. All right. Today, we are brought to you once again by our show sponsor, Owner's Box Fantasy, Weekly Fantasy Sports. And John, they have launched their NBA product, and I absolutely love it. So you got to check it out. First of all, if you use the link in the description below to get signed up at Owner's Box and use promo code NFL10, they're going to give you straight up a free entry into their weekly contest, which I happen to have opened on screen here. You can check this out. Owner's Box. Now, I want to explain how their NBA game works, because it's really cool. We finally get to experience, you really can't experience the weekly for NFL because NFL is once a week, but the way their NBA game works is really cool, and I've just been checking it out. I love it. So here's how it works. Basically, you can choose 2 players per position group. So I could choose 2 point guards, 2 shooting guards, as many players as you really want. And they allow you 6 total games worth of scoring from each position group. So what that means is, like, midweek, let's say, your point guards have done really well and you've hit your 6 max because you've got 2 guys in there, each with 4 games. You can actually drop the guy, take that salary, apply it somewhere else. So it's like a really interesting format where there's a lot of in-week management. And because the way they set it up is like a best ball style, so if you start to go over the 6 games per position, then it will just choose the best score. So let's say one of your players has a dud. You can actually get an extra week of point guard somewhere else to make up for that dud. So it's very much a marriage it's the perfect marriage of season-long NBA in a weekly format. Very, very cool. If you love fantasy basketball, especially season-long fantasy basketball, this is the format for you. And I promise you, the Sharks will not mess with this. It's very management heavy. In other words, there's a massive advantage to being aware of what your team is doing and making adjustments in week. So that's pretty much going to favor your fantasy player, like your standard season-long fantasy player, significantly over maybe an analytics-based DFS guy. So I really highly recommend this game, the NBA game over at Owner's Box. It's very, very cool. You can use the DFS Army projection models to sort of get a sense of which players to play. But in the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of in-game management, which will allow you to take down these tournaments, because I guarantee you most of the people playing are not playing it the right. John, this is right up your alley, bro. You would figure out the tricks here. You need to be playing here.
Yeah, I would. We were looking at it before, we were going over. I'm like, and then my mind starts running. But I think your point's a good one, where the sharp guys, sharp guys always have an advantage, but there's a lot of sharp guys out there who play $5 a week. They don't have the tools, or maybe they don't have the capacity to start playing, $20,000 worth of games in a night. The tools aren't going to help you as much here. Like, if you're just sharp, you understand basketball, you understand fantasy basketball, you're going to be good at this. So I think this is what gives it's going to give the average person. There's a lot of really smart people out there who aren't necessarily the top guys in DFS, because they're not playing for tens of thousands, So this is I think it's a great opportunity for those of you who are really sharp. Most people watching this are pretty sharp, right? Because
they're watching this.
They're watching this. They're into it, and so I think it's going to be really beneficial to a lot of the viewers and listeners.
What I'm going to suggest, and unwound, you got it right. Read the rules very carefully. As I read it over 2 or 3 times, I'm having the same thoughts that you are, John. I'm like, oh, I know how to take advantage of this game. You have to understand that best ball component of the game, and the fact that if you do have a dud from a player, you want to get a seventh essentially score from a player at that position group to make up for the dud because of the best ball component of it. So you're allowed to go over 6 point guard games, but it's only going to count 6 of them. But every time you play one, you're paying the salary for that player. So, you find a bargain somewhere else that opens up an extra week elsewhere. Really, really strategy heavy. And I promise you, most people are not playing it that way. And it's a great contest. 600 person. It's exactly the size contest, John, that I like.
Yeah, it's winnable. It's winnable, and then there's a nice payday. There's a nice payoff at the end of the day.
It's perfect. 600 entries, $10. The perfect size. The perfect size. So check that out, guys. NFL
and
10.
When things are new, when things are new, that's when you have the most advantage.
Yep. Yeah, NFL 10 gets you a free entry to it. You don't even have to make a deposit. Don't have to put a credit card in. Nothing. Just use the link in the description of this video below on YouTube, the YouTube description. I think it's on the DFS Army post as well. So there you go. There's our pitch. Really good stuff. All right, let's get into it, John. NFL Week 8. Really interesting as we take an overall view of the slate. Let's see how we look better over here. There we go. As we take an overall view of the slate, because once again, John, is there something going on? Something in the water? Like the haves and the have-nots in the NFL this year, it's a greater discrepancy than ever before.
It's unlike anything I've ever seen, right? So I've been doing the power rankings for probably 10 years, that ranking system. I've never seen a bigger disparity between the bottom 5 teams and the top 5 teams. Right. Yeah, usually we get 1 or 2 teams that are above like the 30. You'll get like a 32, 33 ranking, something like that. And then you've always got that one team that lingers around the 15 in the rankings. There's a lot of bad teams, and it's hard to are the good teams that good, and are the bad teams that bad? I really think the bad teams are just that bad. I don't know if the good teams are necessarily that great. I just think there's such a disparity. And we haven't seen that in the NFL because of the NFL prides itself on having, a little bit more equality, and, it's harder to, it's not like baseball where you could put a $250 million team on the field. So, we haven't necessarily seen that in football, but yeah, it's brutal. And every week we have not seen, I don't believe, a team that has been favored by more than 7 points has won yet this year or lost yet.
Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. And I'm going to tell you something. It's affected DFS. And it's affected DFS in a really interesting way. I'm going to tell you how, because we did a lot of back testing and a lot of investigation this offseason in terms of what style and approach for lineup construction wins tournaments, right? Did a ton of it. Back tested the entirety of the 2020 season, for an example, and we've looked at data from before. And the absolute clear data showed, especially on DraftKings, that in order to take down a tournament, you wanted to do a very specific stack: QB, 2 pass catchers, 1 player from the opposing team, 1 bring back. Now, I will say, I believe that did win the tournament this past week.
There was no bring back.
There was no bring
on.
I feel like it was. The Megan Joy, aka Megan the Stallions, tournament Millie Maker winner, I believe, did have a bring back in it. You could check it for me while we're going. I've
looked at it earlier. So the Millie winner had 2. It had Cup and Jefferson with Stafford, but it had nobody on the. What it did have was Swift.
Yeah, it did have a bring back. There we go. That is a bring back. That is
it didn't have the wide receiver bring.
No wide receiver, but it did have which Swift is kind of hard. So my point is, it did work this week, but my greater point, it hasn't worked any of the other weeks.
No.
So most weeks we have not had a QB +2 bring back of 1. Yeah, everybody, it did have it. We went over that shit on the.
The problem. That was a widespread game, but the game wound up being fairly tight. So but it wasn't, it was unusual because it wasn't that high scoring a game. So points wise. So
very concentrated offense.
Right.
That's what you get. And it was Van Jefferson who was a cheapie as the second guy. Look, Megan the Stallion, aka Megan Joy, won a few different contests with that lineup, which is very impressive that people still, John, you would be very against this. So here's a second philosophy that John will be very against. How do you feel about throwing the same 150 into more than one tournament?
No, it's not that I'm against that. I changed that. I know I used to put 900 different lineups in.
Yeah.
No, I changed that strategy.
You're not doing that anymore.
No, I did that. So last year I changed that. So the logic was, hey, when the 150 hits, I'm just going to take everything down. So I've changed that in all the sports, basketball, baseball. And so you saw that in baseball. I when I hit the whatever it was, the big 8, whatever game it was, the 111 game, which is the high entry game on baseball, it won 100,000. And then I was like, I wasn't even paying attention to the smaller one, and it won that one too. So that's like the hope is on those nights that you hit big, you'll hit for the 250,000.
So you moved off your philosophy of making as many lineups as possible, and now you're putting your same 150 in more than one contest?
That's it. Yeah, I put the same 150 in. So yeah, there was a lot of thought behind that. For years, I would put, if I was in 3 different contests, 450 lineups, 600. First of all, it's saved me a lot of time. And because I'm just thinking that I'm diluting, like the lineups are becoming weaker and weaker. So now I'm just going with the best 150. If it pops, I'm going to take down every tournament that I'm in.
There we go. A new approach from John Alessia that I was not aware of. Shit. That's really interesting. I still believe that if I'm putting 300, if I'm doing 2 tournaments that are similar in price, I'm putting 300 uniques. I'm not going to repeat the same ones twice.
Yeah, it was happening so often. Where I would the bigger of the usually the
you were just
cheaper
pissed
price,
that you were
larger tournament, and that was my best lineup, and it would it finished 80th, but it would have won the real expensive tournament.
That that's why that was the problem, right? So I will not do wildly different priced tournaments for that approach. And I'll give you an idea, and I'll give you guys who are watching an idea. You can really work this, but you've got to have it similar tournament sizes. So for example, for me, if I'm doing the $5, let's say the flea, but there's a bunch of $3 or $4 20 entries that I can access as well, I'll just consider those all the same thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I was doing the flea, but also the milli maker, at that point, there's such a discrepancy in the $25 versus the $5 that it becomes less a minus EV situation to maybe put my better lineups in the cheaper one, significantly cheaper with a much smaller prize. So, and you're even doing the 33. I've seen you guys are you're maxing out even the more expensive style of contest. So, or the 44 or something when they're bigger ones. So that doesn't jive. You can't be treating your 30s, your 25s the same as a 5, because that's going to mess with your overall ROI. So I still believe in it. I think more uniques are better, but you got to really be careful about the sizing of the con, because I see what you're saying. You don't want to hit the 20K to first when you had a 200K to first entry as well that misses. So yeah, I totally get that. Anyway, but Megan Thee Stallion, aka Megan Joy, she won them both. She took down the 9. She took down the milli maker. So clearly he don't know. They are awesome at DFS, but also really putting out a lot of money each week to max out a milli maker and the $9 with the same lineups. All right, let's get into it, guys. NFL Week 8. So we've got what we talked about, which is a wide spread of games where most of them have ridiculously giant spreads for the favorite. Most of the best teams on the slate are heavily favored. And it makes it, once again, this weird situation where we really might not be advantaged by only doing QB +2 bring back of 1 type lineups. A few of these games, you simply cannot do that. It's not smart, but we still might want to stack those games. Makes it a little weird. But we'll talk about that as we break down these games. All right, John, let's go to the core 4 first. The way the game plan works, John and I will take a look at the core 4 games that we picked out as competitive, have a little bit more potential to pop, and have a little maybe more DFS interest than some of the others, or just are more interesting to talk about. So let's get into it. The core four. First game on the core four, we've got the Eagles going to Detroit to take on the Lions. Eagles road 3.5-point favorites, 48-point projected game total. And John, I was on with Gargano on the Sharp app last night talking to, he's Mr. Philly. He's Mr. Philly, Anthony Gargano, talking about this game. And he said he just can't. I think maybe he's a little too close to the team. He says, I can't lay points on the Eagles. I just can't.
Well, I think that's what happens when it's your team, when it's the local team.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The local boy.
This is one of those lines. This is like the 3.5. But by the way, people are they're overdoing it now. It's like people used to not maybe pay as much attention to these half points, the hooks we call them, the 2.5. Now it's like I refuse to bet a game if it's minus 3.5. If you saw the numbers, I don't have the minus 3.5 numbers, but like the games that are plus 2.5. Not that I would tell you to blindly bet plus 2.5, but they're winning, more than they're losing. So like, don't be afraid. If you like the game, you like the game. I hear people talk about I would just buy the point, buy the half point or whatever. You don't have to do that in all instances. A lot of times, really, that half point, they're overcharging you for it. There's a price, there's a value on that half point. But anyway, I do lean towards Philly myself here in this game. The public is definitely on Detroit. I think the money's more 50-50. So we see there is a little bit of sharp money coming in on the Philly side of this game. But the public, I don't know why that is. It's obviously, it's a team that hasn't won a game yet. And so usually you don't see much public money coming in.
I kind of think that Detroit has been competitive, and I do think there's a general consensus overview that the Eagles suck.
Well, the Eagles do suck, but so does Detroit. Yeah, I get that point where Detroit's kind of been in these games. They could have beat Baltimore. They had Minnesota.
They played competitive against real teams, even last week against the Rams.
Yeah, Rams.
They're of the shit teams. Let's put it this way: of the garbage teams in the NFL, Detroit has shown more effort and been more alive in games than than let's say the Jets. Or Houston. Well, Houston a little bit, but the Jets or really Houston or those really, really bad teams. Even it might be worse than Detroit.
I think that definitely holds true. I think part of it, I think people don't think this is not an 0 set. Like, you know what it is? There's so many bad teams, like we talked about, that they're not out there on an island where everyone's like, they're not going to go 0. This is not an 0-17 team. Like, they're going to win. Some people in our chat, for the Sharp app, we've got the Discord chat, and there was a futures bet on like which team was going to finally knock them off. So there's a lot of interest in people, or which team will they finally knock off and not get their first win.
Is it?
Of course, Philly was the
could be Philly if it's going to happen.
Obviously that's who they have coming up, so they're the most likely candidate. This was before the Rams game, but I don't know. I don't see it. I think Philly wins this guy. I think they're getting a little too much value. I want to see how this line moves. Take a look at the line as it moves throughout the week. If you see this line drop down, certainly I would seriously doubt it ever gets under 3. But if it gets
I want to point out
used 3 line, I would be less confident in Philly. If this thing gets to 4, then I think Philly is easily the bet here, because that's indicating to me that there's some pretty smart money on the Philly side.
I will say that last night when we did the Wise Guys show, some of the lines were still at -3. So -3 was still available on a couple of books. It wasn't fully -3.5 yet. So we had already a little bit of movement in that direction towards the Eagles for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I actually gave the game out as a pick yesterday because I wanted to get it before that game moved. So that's part of the advantage, especially with the Sharp app, is looking where you can get the best prices on these. Huge advantage to getting the 3.5 or 3. But like I said, don't be afraid of the 3.5 when you like a game.
Absolutely. All right, so DFS angles here. I really like this game for DFS purposes. One of my favorites of the week, because there's multiple reasons, but part of it is the Swift bring back, and part of it is just, okay, this is one of the very few games where A, it's close. B, the home team is a slight underdog. That's something I really like. C, neither team can play defense. All of the ingredients are here for good fantasy goodness. As a quarterback, Jalen Hurts, you might think he sucks as a player. That's fine. Don't care. Only care about fantasy scoring. And from a fantasy scoring perspective, this guy has not disappointed not once this season. He's produced 20 fantasy points or more every single week of the year. Is his passing very efficient? No, but he's a willing thrower, which is good enough for me. And his pass catchers are all priced down appropriately. So when you talk about the Eagles side of this game, it's really, and actually, I don't even mind Goff. I know, crazy Kevin, what are you, crazy? I don't mind Goff. So on the Eagles side of this game, though, you've got what has essentially been an elite scoring quarterback connected to very cheap pass catchers. I don't care if it's Devonta Smith, Quez Watkins. I'm not into Jalen Reagor, but he did score a touchdown last week, whatever that's worth. And of course, Dallas Goedert, no competition at the tight end position on the Eagles. And even Kenny Gainwell, pass catching running back, can kind of be thrown in this mix of, there's no Miles Sanders this week. I don't think Gainwell is going to get all the touches, but he'll get a little bit of a boost in workload. He's been good too. I think he's actually good. It's unfortunate that they're not going to give him the ball because their coaching staff is really bad. By the way, again, problems with the Eagles side, but you can bring it back with Hawkinson. Great matchup against the Eagles, tight end position. Swift, everybody talking about Swift. Amon-Ra, you want to get fucking Egyptian with it? I'm fine with that. And Amon-Ra is not the best. It's actually been the Wiz Khalif Raymond who's been the best, but I don't love any of the pass catchers necessarily that are wide receivers for the Lions. He's like, I don't love those guys. I definitely like Swift and Hawkinson more. But sure, I mean, Wiz Khalifa, his price has been hiked up to a point where I almost think you can't play him. I just want to see one quick statistic here and show it from last week if I can find the Eagles. Yeah, I mean, Boston Scott. So it was Kenny Gainwell 50%, Boston Scott 33%, but Gainwell got a lot of targets in that game, 22%. Scott, a couple of targets, but it was mostly Gainwell. So I do think there's some merit here to Gainwell being used as a pass catcher in this one as well. And he could be paired up with Hurts. And John, this is going to blow your mind. I don't even mind playing Jared Goff. I know it's fucked up. I know he's not good. But if my thought is he's the cheapest he's ever going to be. And if there was ever a game, this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he's going to have a good game this year, this is the one.
Yeah, but look, Philly has been pretty good against quarterbacks.
That's just because it's so easy to run on them. But they're not going to run. They're not going to run the football. They're going to throw it to Swift. So Goff gets the points in that. I know what you're saying, but it's because the Eagles have been so bad against the run that there's been no reason to throw. But Detroit doesn't really run a traditional running game. They're much more about throwing to the pass catchers. DeAndre Swift has a 32% target share last week, 20% on the season. This guy is one of their primary pass catchers. So I feel you, but I think if there was ever going to happen, this is the game. I'm not going crazy on it, but I will. The other reasoning I have, John, and you tell me your thoughts on this. If you get away from basically one or two names like Goff or Wentz, kind of gross names, really, every other viable quarterback, specifically on FanDuel, but more so on DraftKings, every other viable quarterback is so differently priced. I'm going to show you something. Let's put this on screen. They're so differently priced that there is something to be gained by saving that money. And what I mean is, if you look at the salary component, let me put this on screen, of the QB position, you've got all these 7K guys, right? And then it just gaps down. There's nothing really in between. And then it kind of gaps down to this 5K level, right? And most of the 5K level is pretty gross. So, outside of like Wentz at 5,700, that's pretty gross. When you gap all the way down to 5,200, there's just nobody in this zone. And I'm actually going to be interested in Teddy Bridgewater as well for this reason. I just think that the savings, the 1,500 in salary, creates such a different lineup construction than when you use the 7K guy.
Yeah, I mean, you got Geno Smith down there too.
No, thank you.
Yeah, well, listen.
Turds.
I get it. It might not be as good a situation, but yeah, I just running it quickly. I was getting far more of those guys than I expected, and now, as I'm looking at it,
you see why. Yeah, it's just there's a weird gap between the good and it's the have and the have-nots. This is like America. Fucking 1%. It's all happening in football now.
It's ugly. But listen, to recap this game, just the running backs look to be the best, both sides of the ball. Like the running back.
Kenny Gainwell? You like Kenny G?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. He's one of the few pay down options that at running back this week on DraftKings that makes any kind of sense. So I'm down with Kenny G. I'll play the fucking music. I'll listen to the flute if I got to. The clarinet.
Sax.
Is that what it is? A saxophone?
Flute is not cool. The sax is cool.
First of all, Jethro Tull just called me.
Jethro Tull.
And he just said, fuck you.
You realize that was the first ever Grammy for a heavy metal band? It was Jethro Tull.
Really? With the flute playing?
Yes. They beat out Metallica in like 1989 or something like that.
And it's a badass song, though.
It was not Metallica, though.
No. Like, that's what they gave the...
that was the first... Who was the first rap Grammy?
Oh, wait, I do know this. This is like... It's like Blondie or something?
No. That was like the first rap song on the radio. I believe it was Young MC. I believe won the first...
Okay, all right, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, that'll do it for... That's game one. Let's move on. Before we move on to the second game on the Core 4, guys, remember to like and subscribe to this channel. If you want this content every week, we're doing this for all sports, so you're missing out. You got to make sure you've got the subscription, subscribe. It's free. Subscribe. It's YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the notify button. We do the showdown breakdowns. We've got it all going on. You want to hit our free content, and if you want all of our content over at DFS Army, of course, you got to get signed up as a DFS Army VIP. NBA is going strong right now. There's nothing like our news and notes, the core plays. NBA has leveled up, man. Keg took down 100K 2 nights ago. Next night, he's taken down 10K, third place. The guys who are giving out the cores are taking down tournaments. That's when our subscribers are taking down tournaments as well. It's been an incredible run to start the NBA season. All 4 sports going simultaneously. This is the time to get signed up as a DFS Army VIP. You get my Players Club, drink Blue Moons with me every Saturday. That's worth the price of admission. Just that alone, John.
When you're in a community, you're forced to get smarter.
It's hard not to.
Like I've improved my game in multiple sports just by being part of the DFS Army. So
I love it. Get signed up DFS Army VIP. Use my promo code Geek. 10% off right now for VIP. That's just, by the way, it's VIP $69.99 a month. You take 10% off. It's about $62 a month. $2 a day, guys. People tell me, I could do my own projections and my own for $2 a day for 10 sports with an optimizer, with research stations, with projections, with ownerships. You're going to do that yourself for $2 a day? NASCAR, golf, good luck with that. Go somewhere else. Good luck with that too. Good luck with it, because you see who wins these tournaments, and it's DFS Army subscribers. You see those avatars at the top of these tournaments.
Listen, I worked on Wall Street. I worked some of the biggest hedge funds in the world were clients, and you know what they do? They pay for information. Like they subscribe to newsletters and information, and these are some of the smartest people in the world, but they want to know what everyone else is thinking. Even if they disagree with it, they want to know where's the market at.
How much is your time worth? We're talking about $2 a day. $2 a day. How much? If I could do my own projections, great. Part of the reason we created DFS Army was because, one person to pay for a developer to make an optimizer and a team of people to make projections for every sport so you can play. That's a fortune. But if 1,000 of us are paying together, now we can make it happen. That's really what it's all about. That's why it's a community. That's why the community is so strong. That's why everybody helps each other out. That's why we're talking strategy constantly in the DFS Army forum. So get signed up. Now is the time. All the sports are going. And good luck going somewhere else. Pay double, get no coaching, nothing. They got to charge more. They didn't make their own optimizer. They buy it from someone else. Good luck with that. All right, let's move on. Game number 2 on the core 4. We've got the Titans taking on the Colts. This is the game of the week, in my humble opinion, John. 51-point total. Colts 1-point favorite at home in the Dome. I likes me a Dome game. It's wintertime. Get in the Dome. So, John, Colts are favored by 1 at home. Titans are coming off 2 monster wins. I'm talking about unexpected wins. And right now, and so I'm just going to tell you what I think is going on, and you tell me what's really happening, because you're the sharp. Okay, from Sharp. Titans just beat the Chiefs and the Bills. They're quote unquote the best team in the NFL right now, yet they're underdogs in this game. Colts been a kind of mediocre team. Carson Wentz, not that good. But here we are, they're favorites. I feel like the bookmakers are begging us to bet the Titans here. And I think we need to go the opposite way and be on the Colts side of it. Titans due for a letdown, or at least that seems to be kind of the that's kind of my overall take on it. But give me the sharper take.
I mean, for once, I was waiting for you to say I got to bet Tennessee. Like, this looks obvious.
It looks obvious, but it looks like they're sucking us in.
Right. And you usually like to get sucked in there. Guess who's getting sucked in? I'm going to get sucked in.
You're betting Titans?
And I don't like Tennessee. Yeah, I don't like Tennessee all that much. But, whatever my model has on this game, I hated it. I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, for every reason that you just stated, I'm like, this game is like the whole world's going to bet Tennessee. They just beat the 2, seemingly best teams in the AFC. And, but this is also a team that lost to the Jets.
They lost to the Jets.
So, I mean, you can't figure out what's going on half the time here. And the Colts have been, I think the word mediocre is pretty good. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to be on Tennessee, not liking it one bit. Usually when I don't like it for the reasons that you stated, where it looks like a sucker bet, I'm usually right. So if you don't want to follow me on that one, be my guest, get on the other side. But we're seeing it's not as drastic as I thought, at least on some of the early stuff that I'm looking at as far as public versus sharp money. I really thought,
where are the public money versus sharp right now? Where are the handles? Where are the handles at the moment?
So it's about 2-1. The money's coming in on I'm sorry, the tickets, the actual tickets printed are about 2-1 on Tennessee.
So the public is on Tennessee here.
Yeah, the money's closer to 50-50. So it's not a huge.
And the sharps are on the Colts. That's what that's telling.
It's got to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes total sense. And if I was just analyzing it the way you did, would 100% bring me to the same conclusion. Like, the Colts look like the play. It's one of those things where I don't like to go against my model. My model's giving me Tennessee. I hate it. And but I'm just going to hold my nose and make the play. And that's another one where it'd be interesting to see if that line moves anymore. The fact that it's just lingering around 1, that line you would think would be up around 3. The Tennessee favored by 3 would make a little bit more sense to me. So yeah, I don't like it at all. If you want to play that contrarian game, I think the Colts are the way to go.
So, from a DFS angle, for this one, this is a game I really like. I love that it's one of the very few high total close games on the entire slate. Listen, we all hate Carson Wentz. I think that's a universal thing at this point, right? But how can we ignore that he's in this game against the Titans, this really bad defense? He's priced down. He's going to go unowned. And it's just a very interesting tournament scenario for me. With that being said, if the Colts are probably winning this game, it's going to be on the back of Jonathan Taylor and Jonathan Taylor having a smash game. So, it's the running backs as the starting point for both teams. Obviously, Derrick Henry is always the best running back on every slate that Christian McCaffrey isn't healthy for. And on the flip side, Jonathan Taylor, he looks really good here. 7,200 priced up a little bit for the volume, but we saw something good last week, which was sort of Marlon Mack returning to his backseat role. I don't think this is going to be like any sort of a blowout situation. So I think we're going to get mostly Jonathan Taylor as the prime guy. If they're winning, they're going to have to ride him. And interestingly, for the rest of this team, there's nothing else going on. T.Y. Hilton's been banged up. Can't really trust him. Zach Pascal, much more of a possession guy, needs an emergency touchdown to bring any sort of value to the table. So it's Michael Pittman or bust on the Colts side of this thing. If you're not dealing with a wide receiver, with a running back. As far as the other guys, Mo Alley Cox and Jack Doyle, and it's fine. Mo Alley Cox is fine. He's had a couple of pop games. He'll score a touchdown here and there. So for me, it's Wentz, Pittman, Mo Alley Cox, that trio. If I'm messing with the passing offense, but much more interested in Jonathan Taylor on that side of the football than anything else. And on the Titans side, of course, like I said before, Derrick Henry is always the man. But I'm gonna bring this around. I don't think you should play Tannehill and Henry in the same lineup. If you did that last week, you kind of burned what was a pretty good game out of Tannehill and AJ Brown. So it's either Henry or Tannehill, AJ Brown. Tannehill is usable though, because Julio and Brown are now both fully healthy. So we can kind of use Tannehill again now that he has two weapons at his disposal. John, do you feel like Tannehill needs to be stacked with two guys, with both of those guys? Are you cool? Are you interested in using Tannehill at all this week in your stacks? And, he does rush for touchdowns on occasion. So is he okay with just a stack +1?
Yeah, I wouldn't get, if I'm going to play Tannehill, I'm not going to get heavy on it. So yeah, it would just be, just be him maybe with one pass catcher. But yeah, if you look at it, the numbers kind of back up what you were talking about on this game that I'm looking at. Tennessee defensively been slightly worse than average against the quarterbacks, and they've been atrocious against wide receivers, right? Just terrible. Where they've been strong is against the tight end, and the running back has been, they're a little bit above average. But again, I wouldn't hold that. That wouldn't scare me, certainly, from playing Taylor. Now, when you look at the Colts, they have been really good, or pretty good against running backs. But again, this is Henry, and they've been atrocious, like not nearly as bad as Tennessee, but they've been bad against wide receivers and really bad against the tight end. So, you could see this game. You could see the Tennessee side, maybe they Tannehill does something here against them. It's just, we've got this in the core four. Normally, this would not be a game that's in the core. Like, it's not a game you love. I'm not hammering this. I don't need 4 players in this game.
It only made the core four because it's 51 points and it's competitive. And, I don't want to fill up the core four with the Bills favored by 15.
Yeah, and that's been the problem every single week. We've got, 3-4 double-digit favorite games, and if they're lopsided, we know the drill. So, yeah, normally this wouldn't be a game that makes it, but it is because of the schedule. And yeah, so playable, absolutely. I wouldn't go crazy. Like I said, I don't need 4 players in this game. 2 players, maybe 3 players. Okay. Definitely not 4.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Or just focus on the running backs, or focus running back on one side, wide receivers the other side. But I do think I have a mild interest in the quarterbacks from the game, but it does appear to me to be a game where it's the running backs that are going to rule the day. Again, interesting week where none of the games really explode off the screen. Before we get to the next game in the core four, I'm going to remind everybody that John is the lead betting analyst for the Sharp app. You can get his bet of the day every single day, plus multiple other bets each day if you sign up for Pro. But John has given out a free bet of the day every day on the Sharp app. How's the bet of the day going, man? You've been crushing it. At last I checked,
crushing the bet of the day. We went on like an 11-game win streak, lost a couple, then went on a 4 or 5-game win streak, right back again. So lost last night. So if you want to jump on and try to catch the next streak, let's get on it.
You always want to get on right after the losses when you want to jump on.
Yeah,
John, and I shit you not, I've been following the bet of the day. I don't know if my unit size is correct. I'm not sure that I'm doing that right.
Most people would say your units are sized incorrectly. Yeah.
Or you're saying,
we're talking about your betting.
My units are too big.
Yeah. Okay. No,
my unit is too big.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, yes, that's what I was
what they
getting
say.
at.
My unit is very big. So I've been using a 5% unit size. not the recommended 1%. And
Right.
part of that's because I got a lot of money.
Yeah, you're just,
I don't care. So I got a lot of money.
Right.
But I've doubled my sports betting account in the last month. Literally, it's double. And I've just been following that and putting out a couple of my own bets over on the Sharp Bets team. I've crushed it as well, obviously. But I've doubled my sports betting account in the last month. And I just looked at it. I'm like, holy shit, it's fucking double. Now, was it that much money to begin with? No, I had $1,000 in there, and now it's $2,000. But
we've heard a lot of stories like that. So that's the rewarding, that's
pretty,
rewarding part. I like to hear
cool.
that
Just
from people.
following, just doing these $50 bets.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys like, hey, I got $500 in my account, and in the last 6 months, I've taken $1,000 out 3 times, and I still have 1,000 in the, things like that. It's great. But it's people have reasonable expectations. Listen, if you start with $500, you're not going to get $1 million in 6 months. But if you want to, double, triple, quadruple the account, that's doable.
Sports betting is it's not the same as DFS where you're going to hit a $50K on a $5 entry, but you got to check it out. You can get all of John's bets if you go sign up at sharpbets.app, where you get our betting community, John, and our team of cappers. They're all really, really great. Or if you download the Sharp app, you can get John's free bet of the day. So go check out Sharp app on the iOS store, on the App Store, whatever it is. Give it a download. You'll get John's free bet of the day. And if you sign up for the pro version, you can also get an extra another 3 of his top bets every single day. So it's a no-brainer. I think it's $9 a month for the pro plan. It's a real no-brainer. Like, no one's giving out this type of thing, and we're doing it because we need users. We want to kind of get the word out of this app and how awesome it is. The Game Center, so many features being added. Most of it's free, so definitely check it out. It's really, really great stuff. All right, let's move on to the next game on the core 4. We've got the Chargers taking on the Patriots. 49-point total, 5-point spread. Chargers home favorite. I have a bet on this one. I like this game. I got a bet.
All right, let's see, because I do too.
You do?
So, yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, I am on the Chargers here. I think the Patriots are a bit of a fraud. I think the Chargers are one of the elite teams in the NFL. They are an elite offense, and I think the Patriots will have a hard time keeping up with what the Chargers can do. It's a road game. Patriots traveling west. Again, rookie quarterback, elite Chargers defense. Everything to me screams bet the Chargers. Now, you'll probably go against me because that's what you do. Always want to make me look bad. But I have a bet on the Chargers for this game. John, tell me why I'm wrong.
I'm on the other side, of course. But this one's not that it's not that cut and dry. So it's not like every sharp in the world is betting the Patriots here. I actually thought you might be on the Patriots. I wasn't sure because this game doesn't look. Maybe I'm just seeing it differently. Maybe some of the guys in the chat are like, no, the Chargers are just going to blow them out. But usually I could look at it and say, like, that Tennessee Colt game, like, I know people are going to think Tennessee's a far better team, which scares me. This game, I wasn't that sure when I looked at it. And it's that in-between numbers that, that 5, 4.5, 5, where it's like generally doesn't really come into play until you get to that, until you get to 4, 3.5.
Look at the discrepancy here between one book has it at -6, another one 4.5. Just to be clear, let's see who those are. But Unibet 4.5 and MGM 6. So there is a big discrepancy here between these lines. So there must be some disagreement.
Yeah, you always want to shop. You're going to see that more often, again, in that, I call it like a no man's land, those lines that the games don't typically land on those numbers. They have more, the book has a greater ability to be flexible with the line there because they're not as worried about getting beat on the middle, right? Just, for a game to move from 3.5 to 2.5, it opens the book up to a huge amount of exposure because if the game lands on 3, they're going to get hammered on both sides of that game, so they don't move the games typically there. But for a game to move from 6 to 4 is a lot easier, or 6 to 4.5, or something like that. So just keep that in mind when you're
there we go.
When you're betting.
If you're gonna follow my Chargers bet, I strongly recommend doing so on FanDuel or Sugar House /Bet Rivers. And if you're going to follow John's Patriots lean, you want to see if you have a Unibet account and get it 4 plus 6. That is a much better number. And maybe we both win.
That's
right?
always a possibility.
You know what happens when we both win? Fucking crack a blue moon, tap bottles like fucking congrats, bro. I want you to win that fucking money.
It's called middling. And you mentioned the Sharp app. There's a Sharp Academy in there. I got a whole video on middling. So if you want to check that out, when it's worth it to try to middle.
Yeah, I forgot to mention. So when you do get the Sharp, when you do get the Sharp app, currently still free, you get the full Sharp Academy training course put together by John himself. Really, it's a masterclass in how to bet on sports, guys. This is some shit that you'd pay $1,000 for. I promise you. Somebody else would dress it up with some bells and whistles and charge you $1,000 for the course. This is just free. It's on the app. You just click on the Sharp Academy. You can get the whole training series, get comfortable with all of the terminology of sports betting. So all of the approaches, hedging, arbitrage, noodling, fucking middling. Do you have one on noodling also? That's where you stick your hand in the ground and rip a catfish out. Is that a thing?
Is that
a thing for
noodling?
Sports betting? Noodling's not a sports betting.
I was really afraid of what noodling actually was, man.
That's when you rip a catfish out of the ground with your bare hand.
They probably do that down here in Florida. I have not attempted that.
You got to go up to the fucking swamps over in Gainesville.
Yeah.
Over in the Panhandle. You can do a little noodling down there.
I'm sure there's a lot of noodling going on in the Panhandle.
Yeah. You got to do a little. Sorry, DFS angles. There's a lot of noodling in the Panhandle. That's for sure. DFS angles. So, man, we're gonna. I don't know how to bring it back to DFS here. We got the Patriots and the Chargers, and it's the Chargers side that interests me. Austin Eckler gonna tear shit up. This guy has been Christian McCaffrey light this season. Lots and lots of volume. Okay, lots of volume for Eckler. We're not used to that. We're used to him being a 50% guy, and I'm trying to bring up the information here, but he has surpassed his standard amount of volume here. 60% of the snaps, 20% of the targets, and a solid 50% of the up the gut rushes. So a step up in volume compared to last year when he was a 50% snap count guy. I'm really enjoying what Eckler's doing this season. And next up, of course, Mike Williams is a phenomenon. 5th-year breakout Mike Williams. Been talking about this guy all offseason. He's a monster. They finally started throwing to him. So on the Charger side, it's Eckler, it's Williams for me. You can mix in a little Keenan Allen, but the targets have been there for Keenan Allen, but the production, it's been a little more kind of these I'm going to call them possession style targets. The touchdowns haven't been there. The scoring really hasn't been there for Keenan Allen. So, not as excited about him. And maybe Jared Cook, 20% targets last week, 14% on the season. He's very playable at tight end. John, any thoughts on the Chargers side of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of agreeing with you. Eckler, Mike Williams. I'm not as high on Cook, but I mean, why not? Just based on my numbers, though, that's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to be a Cook game, but you never know. Actually, on the flip side, New England's getting rated really highly for the tight end. So
maybe a little Hunter Henry action.
Yeah, we'll see.
People, by the way, I want to just correct anybody who thinks this is a Jonnu Smith situation. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger here. But it is not Jonnu Smith here. It's Hunter Henry who's getting 72% of the snaps. The targets have been pretty much equal, but the snap count is so different. It's 80% to 22%. So even though the targets have been there, Hunter Henry has actually been the more productive tight end. He's on the field more. And if you've got to play one or the other, it's definitely Henry for me. What do you think?
I was going Henry. Yeah, absolutely. On that. Just to go over the numbers here, what we're looking at, and how they've performed against position. The Chargers have been phenomenal. Top team against quarterback and the top team against wide receiver this year. So again, that's got to scare you here in a game with a rookie quarterback. He's played well, but he hasn't played like I got to play him in all my lineups well. He's played well in relation to every other rookie in the league this year. He's probably been the best one, right? But for fantasy purposes, this is going to be a tough game for them. in fantasy. So I think for them to actually be in this game, it's going to probably have to be, if I'm right, it's probably a low scoring game, right? So if New England wins, if New England covers this game, I would guess the game probably goes under, right? If I don't know if it necessarily has to go over if the Chargers win, but I think it almost has to go under if New England wins.
If New England's winning this game or staying in it, it's probably going to be, and this is part of the reason why I like the bet on, this is now you're understanding why I like the bet on the Chargers.
Oh, I totally get it.
Yeah. Like New England, for them to stay in the game, they're going to have like a Damian Harris great game.
Yeah.
They're going to have some Brandon Bolden mixed in with a touchdown. Like, the passing offense is not a scoring offense. Jacoby Myers can't score touchdowns. Nelson Aguilar really been a trash can this season, and Kendrick Bourne is an afterthought. So Jacoby Myers is a possession sort of Julian Edelman light type player at best. He can't even hold a candle to Julian Edelman. Let's be fair. He's no Julian Edelman. And then they don't have much else going on. They're going to have to throw a touchdown to Hunter Henry, as you said. It's going to be hard for New England to keep up in the scoring. And, I don't really like a whole lot of fantasy goodness from this Patriots team at all in this game, which is just part of the reason why, after that analysis, I kind of said, like, I don't really see how the Patriots are going to be scoring in this game. Therefore, I kind of think it's a Chargers onslaught. Again, I don't love this game. There is definitely a lot of paths to New England playing very, very slow, and they play slow. They're running the football. They're draining the clock. So I don't love this game for like a pops for the over type of scenario. I just, Patriots aren't that style of team. They're going to play slow. They're going to drain the clock down to 1 second every single time they can. So it really comes down to, the Chargers play fast, but like I said, the Patriots, one of the slower teams, only 63 offensive snaps per game compared to 71 for the Chargers. It's a tricky one for DFS, but again, the pickings are slim this week. So, we got to suck it up and basically, target any competitive games that we can find. All right. Last on our core 4 list, we've got the Bucs taking on the Saints. I like this one a lot. Bucs 5.5-point road favorites, 50-point total. Jameis pick Sixton back in action against the GOAT. Pick Sixton not looking so great against Seattle last week. Like offensively, this Saints offense, I really thought that having Jameis Winston at the helm wouldn't be such a downgrade from a Drew Brees, but it has been. And John, I need you to tell me why. What's going on over there?
Yeah, I'm just going to be guessing, but I agreed with you coming in. I was like, because Winston, we've talked about it. I mean, he was a phenomenal fantasy quarterback, numbers-wise, with Tampa. But I think part of that is also Arians, because honestly, Brady plays a different game here with Arians. He's throwing, they're throwing the ball downfield, which is Winston's game. That's not the Sean Payton game, right? The Sean Payton game was, kind of dink and dunk. Like Breeze wasn't a big bomb, throwing bombs down the field. That's why Kamara was so valuable. And I don't think it really suiting. It's suiting Winston's game. Part of what made Winston good with the numbers was that he was taking a lot of chances. Maybe taking that out of taking that out of his game here maybe is just not working for him from fantasy wise. Yeah, but I'm not shocked, but I am surprised. I thought he'd be better. I took him as a backup quarterback in some leagues where I had to take a quarterback because I'm like, this is pretty good. As a guy who's going to put up numbers, I'm more than happy to play him. He's been terrible.
Do you think that part of that has to do with the fact that he had quality wide receivers in Tampa and he's got a literal bag of trash to throw to?
I think, partially, but I'm in the camp of always, the quarterback can make the receivers. Like we'll see tonight, a lot of people are down on the game, like Rodgers tonight.
Yeah.
And, he's playing. Look at last week.
He's going to have trouble. He's going to have trouble.
Look at Daniel Jones, though. That was 4 skill players he didn't have. And Daniel Jones is, mediocre at best right now. And they go and win that game against a defense that's played well. So the quarterback, it's all about the quarterback play. I get it. You want that elite wide receiver. You want some good wide receivers.
Or how about just some not bad wide receivers?
Yeah.
Like they're bad. These guys, they're bad.
Phil. And, I don't know. I feel like, Yeah, you put Drew Brees. If you put Tom Brady on that Saints team, he's going to put up points. So I mean, it's a shame you can't compare him to Tom Brady. But the quarterback, is going to make these teams, regardless of how bad their wide receivers are. And now to give them good wide receivers, look at Tom Brady's entire career. When you give him Randy Moss, unstoppable offense. You give him the wide receiver core that he has here, can't stop him. You give him average wide receivers. Okay, he just went up and won World Series. He won Super Bowls, but he didn't put up ridiculous numbers. But he was going to win. So the quarterback makes these guys.
I'm gonna throw a little GM strategy at you here, and Sean Payton, if you're listening to this, and I know that he sometimes watches the show. Sean Payton, head coach of the Saints, he sometimes watches the show, so I'm going to speak directly to him. Sean, if you give a fuck, bro. If you give a fuck at all, trade for Brandon Cooks or Allen Robinson. It's only going to cost you. Brandon Cooks, 4th rounder. Done deal. Save Brandon Cooks from the hellish nightmare. You already did a trade for Ingram. What, you couldn't have him throw in Cooks? Cooks is like, dude, what the fuck? By the way, Cooks was on Twitter like, dude, that's fucked up. And people think that he said it because he was pissed that Ingram is gone. No, he said it because he's like, dude, that's fucked up. Why are you going to trade him and not me? He wasn't pissed that they're getting rid of Ingram. He was pissed that he didn't get traded. He was like, dude, that's fucked up, bro. Like, he literally said that on social media after the Mark Ingram trade. So you already have a relationship. Why wouldn't you trade for Cook? What the fuck? What the fuck are they doing? All right. Stupid. What the fuck are you doing? What, a 5th rounder? You could probably get him for a 5th rounder. Make the deal. All right. That being said, let's talk about some DFS and betting angles for this. Man, I can go off on that. Like, what are you doing? What the fuck? All right. So betting angles. It's a close game. Now they got Ingram. Ingram ruins Alvin Kamara for me. Ingram is not going to be this guy that comes in and needs to learn the offense. He already knows it. He played for the fucking Saints for his whole career. So now you've got Mark Ingram coming in. He's going to suck up a good number of touches. It ruins Alvin Kamara. Straight up. I like the Brady side of this game. First of all, I like the Bucs. I'm betting the Bucs here. I'm giving the points. This is my a bet I'm doing. Love the Bucs.
Well, I mean, if you didn't, you'd be in a huge minority because there's nobody betting New Orleans. I don't have this game, but
I don't want to be. I guess it's the public, so avoid. But whatever, I don't give a fuck.
Oh, this is like the this was like the
Bucs against the Patriots
on the
the Bucs Patriots game where they didn't cover.
It's very similar to how everyone's taking Tampa in this game, so
might be the time to take the money line to save yourself a little bit of that. They win, but they don't cover the spread danger. But that being said, I like the Bucs here. I love the Bucs offense in this game. There's no Antonio Brown, which means Chris Godwin is the number 1 value play at wide receiver on this entire slate. And the double reasoning for it. It's not just that one thing. Antonio Brown gone. Traditionally, Marshawn Lattimore has actually done really well in coverage against Mike Evans. I don't think that means he's going to shut down Evans here, but he's done well enough traditionally to push some more targets in the direction of Godwin. Those two things, those two factors together make Godwin the absolute top, for me, the top wide receiver play on this entire slate. I love Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. He's going to do his thing. Fournette, if he's going to be doing it here, Saints pretty good against the run. He's probably going to do it via pass catching. It's not that easy to run on the Saints. Teams that are hard to run on, by the way, they tend to play a lot of man coverage, which does open things up for someone like Godwin who knows how to get, who is an elite route runner. And Gunslinger's asking about Tyler Johnson. I would say, sure, why not? Why not? I mean, did he do much last week? No, but did he get any targets? No, but at the very least, he's still priced at min salary on DraftKings, and he was out there for 70% of the snaps. So, not going to take that much to, one touchdown and 3 receptions, 40 yards, and, he smashed the 3K value. John, any thoughts on the Patriots offense?
You mean the Tampa offense?
Tampa offense. Tampa. Okay. Brady got me thinking it's the Patriots.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think I think the running backs in this game are pretty useless, to be honest, on both sides. So I think you got to look at this from the passing standpoint, maybe on both teams, right? So the Saints, you talk about the deep. We know, that's the thing. Don't play running backs against Tampa. And then now you're giving, you got the elite running back in Kamara, but you gave us the reason why you're probably not going to want Kamara. Flip side, New Orleans is top maybe 4 or 5 against the running back this year. They've actually been pretty good against the quarterback as well. But where Tampa has struggled, Tampa's one of the worst teams this year against wide receivers and basically passing in general. I'm sure I haven't looked at it. If you have the power rankings there, I mean, it's probably one of the. I'm guessing we've got a decent projection on the passing in that game. Yeah, 327. Actually, New Orleans just 196
because they can't pass.
That tells you how bad New Orleans has been.
Yeah, this is way more about the New Orleans passing.
Oh my God.
Game.
Yeah, they're 70 under. They're minus 70 in offensive passing. So that'll tell you just how bad they've been.
One of the worst passing teams in the league. But we got Traquan the Chef back. So maybe they got another weapon.
Well, if you look at it, so with my numbers,
Traquan's
not my numbers, but the numbers on basically how each team has performed against the position, and then I do a projection on it. Just do a regression model and a projection. Excuse me, Winston, just based on that, is projected for slightly more than Brady, just because of how bad the Tampa's been against the quarterback. Winston's quarterback numbers have actually been okay. You know what part of that is? Oh, now that I'm thinking about it,
so just scratch to the running back.
Some of that is Hill getting quarterback points. So scratch what I said there. I know Hill gets included in their points. So that makes more sense because they're minus 11 on the wide receiver numbers and minus almost 7 at tight end. New Orleans is. And that's based on the average. So the average of their opponents, that's what they score. That's fantasy points that they score plus or minus based on the average of what their opponents give up. And that's just really bad. They're down there with, I think the only team worse than them is Chicago on wide receivers. And they are the worst at the tight end position. So, it's not often that we're analyzing these teams as the core 4, like, what do we do here? But you could totally, obviously you could see Tampa on the offensive side throwing the ball. I think you avoid this game from the standpoint of the running backs, and potentially just because the Tampa secondary is so bad, potentially we could get something, maybe a cheap option at wide receiver. But this one's tough, and I don't know if I have any confidence in playing Winston.
You don't have to play Winston here. I think you're very good to just play the Bucs side of it. The question really is, do you need a bring back? I'm going to say no, you don't need a bring back option. If Traquan Smith finds his way or Marquez Callaway finds his way into a lineup as part of this deal, I'm okay with it. But I'm not forcing any sort of bring back. One positive for Winston is Hill was out last week, so we'll see if he's out again. I believe he's out for a few games. So without Taysom Hill in there, there is a little bit more throw for touchdowns upside, not just for Winston, but for the pass catchers themselves to catch one. Because really what Taysom Hill does is he's the ultimate touchdown vulture. He kind of removes the ability for the tight ends and the wide receivers on the Saints to catch touchdowns. So at the very least, there is that component. So, John, that'll do it for the core 4. And now what we're going to do is go through the rest of the games on the slate, a little briefer from a betting angles and DFS perspective. Again, reminder to like and subscribe to the channel if you're watching this, and hit the notification button so you can get these notifications when they do it. I also want to tell everybody about a little DFS Army contest we've got going on for Sharp app downloads, where I introduced this the other day on the Players Club, and I'm going to share it here on the game plan, guys. So if you want, obviously we want you guys to check out the Sharp app. John is the lead content provider over at Sharp app, so he knows what's up. You want to support John, you want to support what we're doing, and of course have an awesome sports betting app with all the information you need. You're going to love it. Like, the Sharp app is awesome, and it's better every day. We have the prop tool coming out, the prop finder tool coming out this week. It's going to blow your fucking mind. It's the best tool for DFS that you could possibly have, the prop finder tool, because it's going to tell you really quickly touchdown expectations, yardage expectation, reception expectations with real numbers that money is being played on. So if you download the Sharp app, right? And drop a review on whatever store you're on, the Android store or the Apple store, whichever one it is. Let us know. You can hit the Sharp app at the Sharp app Twitter account. You can hit up Texan 0322 in the DFS Army Discord. Let us know, hey, I downloaded the app and I left a review. At the end of next week, I'm going to grab all the names of the people. We've got about 30 people who've done it so far. I'm going to grab all those names. You got to let Texan know, Texan 0322 or the DFS Army Twitter account, DM, or the Sharp app Twitter account, whatever it is. Let us know. We're going to gather all the names, and then we're going to do a drawing. The winner is going to get 3 tickets to the Spy on DraftKings, $300 tickets to the Spy contest, the one that I recommend playing the most. The Spy is a $100 entry. It's usually between 80 to sort of 1,000 entrants. It's that perfect size contest, and I want you guys to get those tickets. So you download the Sharp app, you leave a review, you let us know either in DFS Army Slack or DFS Army Discord at Texan0322, our admin. You can hit up the DFS Army Twitter account, DM the at Sharp app Twitter account. Let us know that you did it. We will enter you in the drawing. We're going to pull it in a week from Saturday, and somebody's going to win $300 Spy tickets. We're also going to give out a whole bunch of free years of Sharp Pro as part of that deal. So you want to get in on it, it's free, no big deal. Let us know. Okay, let's get into it. We are now talking about the rest of the games on the slate. And first up, we've got the Panthers taking on the Falcons. Falcons at home, 3-point favorite, 46-point total, John. And John, this game has a little bit of DFS appeal. It's not the highest total game, but it at least is competitive. But right off the bat, Panthers, man, what a disaster. Sam Darnold reverting back to Jets, seeing ghosts. Sam Darnold right now. Do you think he has a chance to bounce out of that? Or is the spiral, the cycle, does the mental spiral now just in full force? Is this it?
I think, yeah. I mean, if it's going to happen, I think this is a decent week for it to happen, right? Against Atlanta, if he's going to have a bounce back. Just from a betting angle standpoint, probably no shock here. It's about 1.5 times more money being put on Atlanta, and about the same. It's kind of about the same in on the tickets. So the public's pretty much going to be on Atlanta in this game. I think it makes sense. If they played this game a few weeks ago, this line would be totally different. This
is a dangerous one to bet on because I've got a Butler bet on Atlanta in this game, and I've lost every Butler bet with because so far.
I'm gonna have a play on this one over at the Sharp app, so I'll hold off on which side I like, but yeah, I mean, from a DFS standpoint, I think whenever Atlanta's in the game, we always think there's a possibility, because Atlanta is, if across the board negative. They're negative in every single category against every single position. So bad against the quarterback, bad against running back, wide receiver, tight end. Like it's not good. But the problem is they haven't been that great offensively either. So they've been negatively producing on offense. Carolina has been pretty medium, just average. So that's not terrible, but that's because he played well. Darnold played well early, hasn't played well now, but they're literally right there in the middle of the pack with the quarterback and wide receiver. Where they've struggled is at the tight end and the running back position. But Carolina defensively, really, really good, solid against. They're better right now in points than Tampa is against running backs. So, and then kind of mediocre the rest of the way. So, could it be a stackable game? I don't know. I mean, the potential's there. It's just an awful, as we went, just the core four wasn't all that great. So this one could be the game, but are you that excited about stacking up this game? Probably not. I mean, this looks like a week again where maybe we're not, well, I don't even think it's a maybe. We're not heavy stacking any of these games, really.
No. I think we go right back to QB +1 and maybe QB 1-1 at most in some games, but you got to be very selective about it this week. So I think there's some pieces in this game that are interesting. Atlanta side, Calvin Ridley's yet to break out. I think it's coming. I really do. The targets have been there. So I just think that pop-off game is going to be here at some point. It looks like Kylie Pitter is starting to sort of heat up and become what we thought he might be when he was drafted. And, I think he's the real deal. Kyle Pitts might be the name that we're talking about as should we take him in the first round tight end like that? That might be a year from now, 2 years from now. We might be talking about Kyle Pitts in that way.
He's my highest. He's the highest projected. Not him particularly, but okay. I just look at it from the positions. Atlanta has the highest projection for tight end just based on what teams have given up, and
and what Pitts has done and all of that. Yeah. So he's going to be great. He's a little priced up. I do like him here. I think he could pop off. He's at this point an elite wide receiver playing the tight end position. So 9-10 targets the last few games. There's nothing not to like here about Pitts. Like I said, I think the biggest one of the interesting things from last week actually was just that they played Cordero Patterson much more than Davis. Like Cordero Patterson is kind of taking over this team as the lead back who gets a lot of targets, and it's weird. It's hard for me to mentally accept it, but 73% of the snaps, John, last week, and look who dropped down. I guess Davis was in the game, but like the carries went 63% to 18%. I don't know if this was unique last week, but like no targets for Mike Davis, almost no carries, almost everything went. And here I'm seeing that they were both on the field together most of the time. It's kind of a weird situation what they're doing with Cordero, but he's definitely the better play. And I think he's in a very good spot here again this week against the Panthers team that might be offensively challenged to the point where, the Falcons get a lot of extra possessions on the opposite side of the field. Like, listen, Darnold's a turnover machine. He's playing really bad. He might turn it around, but if he continues to play really bad, then what's going to happen is the Falcons are going to get the ball in good position, and they're going to have a few extra series to play because the other team's turning the ball over. That just leads to running back scoring. So I think Patterson's in play.
Here's the thing with Patterson, though. His points have gone down the last 2 weeks as Pitts has dominated the last 2 weeks. So I would keep that in mind. Like if they're getting more comfortable and they've got that, and Pitts, we know the talent. We may still get good points out of Patterson, but maybe not for the price anymore as we were earlier in the season. Like for your season long team, fine. He's gonna be fine for you. Might not be an option. So I'd be careful here as we see Pitts get better. Does that take away from Patterson's?
I mean, earlier in the season, Patterson was getting all the red zone work, and Pitts was getting none of it. So that's why he was putting up those 28s and 30s on fewer targets or opportunities than most running backs get. And you're right, maybe that reverts back. So there's definitely a lot of danger there. I like that approach. On the Panthers side, only Chuba Hubbard and DJ Moore are relevant at this point as fantasy relevant players. And Chuba hasn't done anything. Again, the decline of Sam Darnold has destroyed basically the usefulness of both of those players. So for the most part, I'm staying away from the Panther side of it. Again, I don't like to go against Cuz thinking they might bounce back here. So maybe a little GPP interest for me in both of those guys. But, it's really going to have to be DJ Moore to carry this team. And man, I just don't know that Darnold has the mental capacity at this point, has the mental acuity to pull it off. I think he's sort of reverting back to the old Jets ways here. So next up, we've got the Bills and the Dolphins in a lopsided game, 13.5 point favored Bills here, 49-point total. The Bills have one of the highest team totals on the slate. And my take is if they want to style in this game, they can. There's probably not much resistance that Miami's going to offer on the road. But what do you think here? Any chance for fantasy goodness?
I mean, we've seen a lot of games where Buffalo in the last couple of years has been in this spot. I mean, Allen's playable for sure.
Because the most expensive quarterback on the slate, though.
I get it. And when I do this, I'm not really as focused on the price, and then when I start building lineups, you start looking at price. But I'm looking at, can he score a lot of points here? I know the danger is always, in a lopsided matchup, you don't throw the ball as much. But we've seen it enough where in the first half, they put 28 points on the board. He runs one in, throws 3, and, he doesn't really play much in the second half. So do I think he could get the monster smash game? Probably, so for GPPs, I'm going to be a little, probably a little lower him, I'm going to have some lesser quarterbacks, let's put it that way, ahead of him in GPPs for that reason, because I think I think the ceiling is a little lower than it would be, because I think they will pull him out of this game if it is a blowout. You've got to bank, if Allen's going to be the guy, you got to bank on Miami's got to score 17 points and kind of stay in this, keep it within 2 touchdowns from the majority of the game, and then Allen never comes out of it. So that's the way it's going to have to be from a betting angle standpoint. Just to give you a heads up on that, no shock here, but the entire everything, tickets, money, everything is coming in on the Buffalo side. Nobody wants to touch the Miami side of this game. So I don't have anything personally that I like as far as from a betting side on this game, but that's where the public's at.
I don't like betting massive favorites like that. I just don't like betting that style of game. I mean, I guess the big question in this one is, can Miami be competitive at all? I think, the Miami version of the team with Tua has been a little bit better than the version with Brissett, a little bit better offensively. I think they have a prayer of keeping it at least competitive. So for that reason, if I do play Josh Allen, I kind of do want to have a piece for Miami on that team. I don't mind Waddle here, but I probably like Gesicki a little bit more. Overall, though, I don't love the game. I don't love if the Dolphins were at home, I'd like it a little bit more. I think the road aspect, just how much better the Bills are than Miami as a team offensively this season is really important.
I've got Miami as my lowest projected points, offensive points outside of Chicago.
Yeah, it's really gross, and we'll get to that Chicago game as well. So not a whole lot going on. Definitely not a whole lot going on there on the Miami side that makes me interested. And again, for the Bills, if I have to have a DFS angle, it's with Xavier Howard locked on Stephon Diggs. That might slow Diggs a little bit. It might push some extra targets over to Manny Sanders. So Emmanuel Sanders is the guy that I have a little bit of interest in here, because just again, I expect Allen to be styling in this game. And if all right, we'll throw to Emmanuel Sanders in this one because Diggs is covered. That'll be sort of the only angle that I have. There's also no tight end really to suck up touchdowns. So I expect more touchdowns coming from the wide receivers, which again increases the interest here in Sanders. I'd like Diggs a lot more if it wasn't for the Xavier Howard scenario, because again, I've been really excited by the fact that Knox isn't there for a few games to see what these wide receivers can do, because Knox has been sucking up a lot of those touchdowns. All right, next up, we have got the 49ers taking on the Bears.
Next.
I mean, this is just a gross game. The Bears are like the worst offense I've ever seen. There is some DFS goodness here that I have to mention, but from a betting angles perspective, I mean, the only way the Bears are staying in this game is if they run the shit out of the football, because Fields cannot throw. He can't play quarterback.
I don't know if that's true.
By the way, I just want to answer this because Swaggy asked it a couple times. Swift for sure, but it's a good problem to have, but the play is Swift.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
yeah, I don't know if it's the fact that Fields sucks. I really think Nagy is a lot of the problem here that they have, because he's got a similar, Trubisky plays a game that Trubisky needed to run around and throw on the run and play that style of game. Not really great at reading defenses. He's not the brightest guy in the world. Fields is another guy who needs to make plays. They need to run and make plays happen. Like, he's not. I think Nagy's trying to put Alex. He wants Alex Smith back. Like, he's trying to run an Alex Smith. Like, Alex Smith was a really good a very good quarterback. A guy you don't mind when you have a solid team around him. And he's a bright guy who knows, he understands reading the defenses, takes what you give him, sort of thing. He hasn't had that. That wasn't Trubisky. That's not Fields. Like, he's not playing. You know what they need in Chicago is they need the offensive coordinator from Buffalo. My brother's been saying that, and now I agree with him. They need Dable. Like, the guy who because I don't want to see Josh Allen get hurt, but I guarantee you Trubisky will be good if Josh Allen gets hurt. I guarantee it, because he plays a similar type of game. They need to let Fields play a Josh Allen style game, because Josh Allen doesn't sit back there and pick apart defense. Like Josh Allen's running all over the field,
he's
throwing
gotten
the ball
better.
around.
Josh Allen has actually picked up and gotten a lot better.
He has gotten better, but I think that's a lot to do with the coaching. I think if Josh Allen was in Chicago, he would suck. Like if that's where his career started.
I guarantee you, if he was with the Jets, he would be done with his career already.
We know that.
I guarantee you. So
but anyway, in this game, I mean, this is the worst game I have from a now maybe you want to look at are you looking at the running back? Is that what you like here?
I think you could play Khalil Herbert, and Pharmacist mentioned it as well. Herbert has taken over. Herbert will be this top guy. Like Williams is back. D. Will, he's back, but I think Herbert is going to be the guy, right? I think he's the lead back while Montgomery is out. And if the Bears are winning the game, they're going to lean on Herbert, and it's going to be a low scoring affair. Herbert can catch a pass or two. I don't like the fact that Williams is there as well, but if you look at last week, Herbert's the guy. So to me, the only way the Bears even make this game competitive is leaning heavy on the run, because that's what they do. They're definitely not going to lean on. They're definitely not going to lean on Fields. And if you look, Herbert 77% snaps, 62% of the carries. He and targets. He's cheap. This is the guy you want to play this week. Everybody's scared of the 49ers defense. I ain't scared of it. And I'm going to play Herbert. I think he's the right. He's playable in DFS. I get the game is gross. But we need salary savings. We need value, and he's the closest thing we kind of have to that on DraftKings. So I think he's very much in play. And the flip side of it, I don't like a whole lot from the San Francisco side either. Bears defense is good. As bad as their offense is, their defense is pretty good, John. So while Elijah Mitchell is definitely the lead back for this team, and I like that, they definitely don't throw to him very much. They throw to Hasty. So it's basically Mitchell running, Hasty receiving. Trey Sermon, sorry, didn't work out. You drafted him, you could drop him. Trey Sermon, they don't like him. It's not happening, right? And beyond that, all the passing goes to Deebo Samuel. So Deebo Samuel's definitely interested. It's rare. Can you see this? Wait, let me make us. Let's put us here. It's rare that you get a wide receiver who's averaging 37% of the targets and pops to 40% on occasion. Those numbers are beyond elite, guys. Those are the kind of numbers that you don't fuck around with. You can expect Deebo Samuel, if they throw 25 times, Deebo Samuel will get 10 targets in the game. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. He can deliver the pass to Deebo. That's my ball, punk. That's my ball, punk. That's what Deebo says. Deebo's out there. He throw to someone else. Like Deebo comes back to the. Anytime they throw to somebody else on it, like Ayuk. Every time they throw to Ayuk, that's my ball, punk. Like he don't allow it. He bullies them. He's a bully.
You can use it. If he wins you money, it's going to be as the only guy.
The only guy
in another, the only San Fran guy. It's going to be in someone else's stack.
Yeah, one off. It's one off. You're not stacking this game up. That's why it's a gross game. All right, let's go to the next game on the docket. We have got the Steelers taking on the Browns at the Browns. 3.5 point total. 3.5 point spread for Cleveland. 42-point game total. Now, John, in the playoffs last year, these two teams had one of the most epic, high-scoring games I've ever seen played in it was like amazing and so unlikely. But I'm not sure the hobbled version of both quarterbacks here. Ben Roethlisberger coming off a bye week, but it's been banged up. You've got Baker Mayfield banged up as well. Not a whole lot of pass catcher interest on the Browns at all. Their wide receivers are all a disaster. I don't really know what to make of this one. Najee Harris is great. Maybe it's the Najee Harris show. Chubb is back. I think Chubb is going to split touches. You will not see Chubb get more than his usual workload. His usual workload might be enough, but Dearness Johnson's going to be in there playing the Kareem Hunt role. So what do we do with this one?
Well, from a betting standpoint, I'm not on this game at all. The public is on the Cleveland side. I think that probably makes some sense. About 1.5x more tickets and money coming in on the Cleveland side of this game. So I'm not shocked there. Curious on the over/under, since you mentioned how big the what that game was last year. It
was one of the highest. You remember in the playoffs, I won. I actually won the playoff GPP that day. with the weirdest stack where I had Ben, Juju, Claypool, and Deontay Johnson all in the same stack with, I believe, Jarvis Landry. Like, it was the ultimate ridiculous game stack that no one would ever use. And I also had Connor in that one. So it went beyond ridiculous. No optimizer worth its salt would allow for such a crazy stack. But I handcrafted it, and it took down, one of these $10, $20K to first contests. One of my favorite lineups I've ever made.
Any lineup that wins you a lot of money is going to be one of your favorites. That's for sure.
Yeah. But that one was so unusual. I remember thinking, there's no way this can win. There's too many players from one team. And there it was.
The total in this game is interesting, though. Right. So you could have gotten this at 47 a few weeks ago. Then it was like 45.5 was the look ahead line here last week. We're at 42. Right. Is it pretty much 42 universally now?
Yeah. I mean, it's 42, 42.5.
42.5 in some spots. So, I mean, this thing has dropped dramatically, and the public's actually coming in on the overside of this game. I mean, 42 seems low, but yeah, I mean, both these offenses have struggled a little bit. Seems to be a common theme, but obviously the sexiest part of this game is Johnson, right? We saw.
No, I think it's Najee Harris, really.
So you like Najee Harris, but here again, though, how many times do we have to prove that drafting a running back early in the real draft is useless, right? You've got Chubb dominates, Hunt. Like, if it was just Chubb playing, we'd be getting a ton of points from Chubb, but it's always been Chubb and Hunt kind of taking points away from each other. Then Hunt plays, he's great. They bring in some guy off the street, and he runs for 150 yards. Like, that's a really good offensive line that they have. And so that's what it's more about. So it drives me nuts about, people arguing Saquon Barkley, and like a lot of good he's done you. So yeah, that I think you always want to have the Cleveland running game, especially when it's one guy. And right now it's one guy. Right.
I think, yeah, I mean, so the big thing with this game, with Juju Smith-Schuster out, it does increase the target expectation for these other guys. It's an interesting question, Claypool or Jones. I'm probably going to go Claypool there, but I think they're both so similar. I don't think you can go wrong. Like, Jones is fine as well. But overall here, Deontay and Claypool should see a target spike with no Juju Smith-Schuster in the mix. And you saw it actually, who got the targets last week was the tight end, Freiermuth. Like, they went to him. The Smith-Schuster targets moved over to Freiermuth, which is really, really interesting. But I don't count on that happening every game. I think they'll shift back over to potentially to Claypool here. So,
yeah, I think one of these wide receivers can potentially be in that same that Debo type of where we could use one of them on
a one-off. Yeah, you don't want to load up this game because of the low total, but we can get a one-off going for sure. Cleveland side is way harder to deal with. Jarvis Landry's banged up. I don't think he's going to play. Odell Beckham sucks now. Let's just keep it real. He's not good at football anymore. He used to be. He made a good play that one time. He had that one catch. Right? He had another special catch using his helmet.
Is Chubb out, or do we know?
Chubb is supposed to be back for this one.
Oh, if he's back, then yeah.
I would be all over D'Ernest if Chubb wasn't there. But no, Chubb is back. But Chubb will not get any sort of special amount of targets. Chubb is going to split with D'Ernest here the same way he does with Hunt. So I don't think there's going to be any sort of uptick in how much work Chubb gets. He's going to get the work, but it's not going to be more than usual. So, for all intents and purposes, the Cleveland side of this game looks horrific. Oh, now Landry's saying he will for sure play. It's even worse because he's all hobbled up. He's going to play. It's not a good scene. Avoid this game. Deontay Johnson, always playable. He's the cheat code. Maybe Chase Claypool if he's cheap enough.
Yeah, really I don't like Harris either. So I'm with you on that with Deontay Johnson or Claypool.
Yeah, it's pretty much a bust of a game. All right, let's go on. Next game, we have got the Bengals at the Jets. 10-point favored Bengals. This is a really interesting one from all sides. Not a game I want to watch, by the way, but just of interest in terms of how to treat it for DFS purposes and for betting. I don't know. Jets are terrible. No quarterback. Bengals minus 10.5. I think you got to bet the Bengals here.
Yeah, I mean, the sharps are going to be on the Jets.
Did you say on the Survivor Show not to take the Bengals?
You got to watch this. Yeah, so you watch the Survivor Show. I didn't say not to take the Bengals, but if you're in a small pool with this goes back to last week. I was setting this week up where I knew the Bengals were going to be a big pick. If you had the Rams available to you, I said do not take them last week because you want to take them this week. That's going to give you a real big advantage. If you're especially in a small pool, you might have a chance to actually win the pool this week if you have like 10 people left where everyone's going to be on the Bengals. If the Bengals lose and you're 1 or 2 people left with the Rams, you're in a great shot. You're in a great shape, and the Rams are a bigger favorite this week. So we haven't seen the big upset. Does it come this week? We'll see.
Tough to think that the Jets sans any sort of like NFL level quarterback all season, but including this game. Now Wilson out, some guy who's the backup. I refuse to commit the name to memory. And also they brought in Joe Flacco. I'm not sure if they're going to start Joe Flacco or they're going to start this other kid, but overall it's a fucking disaster. The Jets don't have a running game they can lean on. Like at least the Bears can win a game or two with no quarterback, like with Fields, who's been terrible, because they have a running game and a defense. The Jets don't have those other two factors. They don't have a running game and they don't really have a good defense. So there's just nothing that leads to a Jets win outside of like the most fluky, weird, crazy game you've ever seen. And I don't see it happening. I think you could bet the Bengals minus 10.5 and still be fine. I think the Jets are going to struggle to score. There's no DFS interest on the Jets for me whatsoever. So the only question I have for you on the Bengals is, it was a little weird last week, John, where they didn't play Mixon like they had been earlier in the season. All of a sudden, Mixon is splitting time with Samaje Perine. As a matter of fact, it was a 50-50 split in rushes and a 50-50 split in snaps on what was a pretty competitive game. So what the fuck is going on there? Because normally this would be a load up on Mixon. The Bengals won't throw when they're ahead. They're a team that wants to go run heavy when they can. Are they going to do that? Like, how do we know? What do I do with this? And I can't play these guys. They're too fucking, it's fucked up.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at that game. I'm curious because I was in New York at a party, so I was kind of half watching all these games.
Wait. You left the house and go to some party?
I was in New York City this weekend. Yeah.
What the fuck is that? You're paid to study the games, not to have fun and have a life.
That is true. That is true.
You're not allowed to have a life.
Every once in a while, I like to leave the dungeon here and venture out into the real world.
That's not acceptable. We'll have to talk about that. Not acceptable. There's no leaving the dungeon. But yeah, so for real, Perine, I don't know what to do with Mixon here. I don't know what to do.
I'm not sure because normally, right? If we know that if we know Mixon's getting the bulk of the snaps here, this is a smash. Like, gotta love it, right? Projecting the running backs. That's probably the best aspect of this game is Cincinnati running back. But
you can't trust it.
But you can't trust it right now. So that's tricky.
Was he hurt?
I got to go back and look. So I don't have.
There was no Q tag. There was no Q tag on him. Like if he was hurt, it's a secret. I don't know. Samaje Perine didn't suddenly emerge as some fucking superstar. This guy's been in the league for 7 years.
Was there a reason? Was it something, because the Baltimore defense was pretty good. Was it just the game planning something for that particular game? Was it something that they saw? I don't know. It's hard. One game's not a trend. It gets us nervous when it happens one game. I'm not going to totally jump off of Mixon because I think this is too good of a spot here. We like those big spread games against a team that really can't stop the run all that well. So I'll definitely have my decent share, and I'll probably wind up being over because a lot of people will probably be a little nervous about the same thing you are here. It's just too good a position, I think, too good of a game script.
I think he's priced up enough where I can avoid it and not have to deal with the mystery one way or another. It's not like he's a bargain. So I'm paying up for a guy who I have no idea how many touches he's going to get or if he's now in a 50-50 split. I'm probably going to avoid it outside of like GPP, MME, like couple percentage points just in case. But that is definitely not a situation. Yeah, when Pirine was hurt, I was all about Mixon. But with Pirine in there, like, it hasn't been that great, and they definitely seem to want to throw to Pirine more. So yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not on it, and I think Jamar Chase is certainly playable every single week, but there's nothing about this game that's going to force Burrow to have to throw to Chase. So much like some of these other big spread games, much like some of these other big spread games, yeah, the wide receiver quarterback connection could work out, but there's nothing that really says it should work out about the way that the game is probably going to play out. So it's something we just want to keep in mind that, Burrow might not need to throw more than 18 passes, and then they just lean on the run and close out a win. And that's not going to do it. So for some high priced wide receivers, that's the problem with these non-competitive games. There's nothing to force the quarterback to need to throw. So it's just us guessing whether they'll just want a style because they like looking good and looking sexy out there on the football field. I get it. Teams want a style, but like, you never know when they're going to do that, or they're just going to play conservative and win the game and move on to next week. You never know. All right, another game like that, but this team has been styling a little bit, is Rams, 14.5-point favorites against the Texans here, 47.5-point total. And we're just going to push through this. But John, I know I'm not a bet 14.5-point favorites kind of guy. Is there anything here on a betting angles that makes you interested at all?
I think it's too many points. I know Houston's terrible, but it's a lot of points. 14.5. We say that every week.
They usually cover it more often than not.
They have been.
Not last week. Did they cover last week?
The Rams did not. No.
Yeah, no. Competitive.
But I'm saying teams in general, the double-digit favorites have been covering. I think they're like 8-3, the double-digit favorites so far this year, something like that. I think this one's too much. I don't know. The Rams, I hate taking them off of the game because they didn't play a great game last week as a big favorite. So you kind of think they're going to come out here and put a little bit better effort.
Can we chalk that up to the revenge, the pressure, all of that? Brady played bad at the Patriots as well.
It's possible. It's certainly possible. Like I said, I didn't unfortunately get a chance to watch a ton of the games, but yeah, if I had to lean, it's going to be on the Houston side of this game, and I without even looking at it, but I'll just take a look. Shocking, actually. Shocking that the money is it's basically 50-50.
That's not shocking. Who the fuck wants to bet the Patriots? Why put your money on the Texans? Why would you put your money?
No, my shock is that the more people haven't bet the Rams.
The people are doing that, getting cute after last week. Listen,
because look at what was the other game that we were talking about, the lopsided game, like Cincinnati and the
Bengals
game. Like all the money is on the favorite, and it's not in this game.
Well, maybe Tyrod Taylor might come back for this one. I don't think he will, by the way. I know that's rumored. I don't think he's going to be back for this one. I think they might bring him off of IR and maybe practice him up for a week and bring him back next week. But overall, the Texans are in tank mode. They're getting rid of their veterans. Brandon Cooks could be traded before this game even happens. I don't want anything to do with the Texans. Let me be clear on this. Nothing. I don't want Brandon Cooks against Jalen Ramsey. Fuck that. Hell no. Right? I don't want that. I don't want anything to do with the Texans at all. David Johnson, now he's got the full workload. Don't give a shit. This is the Rams. That's not a spot I want to mess with. On the Rams side, it just comes back to what do they want to do? I think Darrell Henderson is in a smash spot just like he was last week. He disappointed in the smash spot last week, didn't put up a big number. We go right back to him. That's just natural noise and variance. Darrell Henderson, as a massive favorite against the worst, a terrible defense, should have opportunities to score touchdowns. They can't all go to Cooper Kupp every single game. Go right back to Darrell Henderson here. He's the best running back play on this slate from a fantasy points per dollar projection and value perspective. He stands out well above the rest in terms of his projection versus his salary. So you play Darrell Henderson, you move on. If you want to play Stafford to Kupp again, go for it. Stafford, I don't think, has 30-point upside in this game, and he's priced as a quarterback who does, but he definitely couldn't get to the 25, and all of those points go to Kupp. I think Kupp can be played standalone, and also Kupp is so expensive that you can just not play him, and that's fine too. There's a lot of different ways to approach it, but at some point you have to also acknowledge that Kupp has been the clear number one fantasy asset this season across everybody and all, including when you compared to Derrick Henry. No one has been a better fantasy asset than Cooper Kupp. So, do with that what you will. When you're playing Stafford to Kupp, you're playing them in a non-competitive environment. Last week's game got competitive, which is, I think, what spiked everything for Kupp and everybody. I do not think this game will be competitive at all. All right, moving on, John. Jags, Seahawks. Jaguars on the road, 3-point underdogs against the Geno Smith-led Seahawks team. 43.5-point total. Anything stand out here?
Let me see. I think I have this game. No, this wasn't one of the games. I seem to be on Seattle every single week, but I don't have them this week. But yeah, just look at the money is which way you think, like, where do you think the public is on this game?
I think I like the Jaguars, so maybe the public goes with me.
No, the public's going to be on. Yeah, public's on Seattle. Like, the public's very rarely going to bet Jacksonville. So you like the Jaguars in this game?
Yeah, I think that Geno Smith is really, really bad, and their offense just doesn't really execute that well. I do think that because Jacksonville is so bad against the pass, that it doesn't mean that you can't play. Like, this could be the game where Smith actually does fine and throws it to Metcalf.
Yeah, I think he could play Geno.
Yeah, I don't really want to play him, but I get what you're saying. The Jaguars are so bad defensively that, like, Geno actually could be productive in this game. But I also think that the Jaguars have been a little bit better each week offensively. I think that of all of the rookies, I'm seeing improvement week over week from Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence looks like a real National Football League quarterback. The rest of them really not, maybe Mac Jones, but for the most part, the rest of the rookies haven't looked like NFL quarterbacks, even like they have the potential to be NFL quarterbacks. But Trevor Lawrence does look that way, and he's gotten better each week observationally. So I think that between Lawrence being a little more competent and James Robinson really just smashing here, that we have the potential for a pretty good offensive performance out of the Jaguars. I wish it was at home. I'd feel a lot better about them if this was a home game for them. Seattle's a very loud place, but I think that on the Jaguar side, you can get some goodness both from they can score a little bit and from a fantasy perspective. I love James Robinson in this game.
This game is going to be, I think this will be one of the better fantasy games, shockingly. You know what I like? Give me some tight ends in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Arnold.
Give me Arnold.
Gerald Everett.
Yeah, I like the tight ends here. I think, again, let's not go crazy with the game, but I think this is actually a game that you could take a comeback with the quarterback and stack this game. I do like Robinson as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, making Geno stacks, that's bananas.
You could make a Geno stack in this game.
All right. Geno for I'm adding, based on your recommendation, I'm adding Geno to the list.
We're coming back with Arnold, and then we're putting a whole lot of more expensive pieces.
Robinson for sure, I think is the one thing about Seattle is they don't have much to lean on in terms of running back, so they're probably going to have to throw for touchdowns. I think it's I'm down with it. Okay. All right. We'll add him to the mix this week. All right. Last game on the breakdown. We've got the Washington Footballers taking on the Broncos on the road. Broncos 3-point favorites. And John, I don't know. I mean, I think the Heineke experiment has now come to its conclusion. I really thought he could emerge as a pretty good quarterback, but it's not happening. He overthrows everybody. I don't know if it's nerves. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's not tall enough to be a National Football League quarterback, but he's overthrowing everybody, and it's been disgusting.
He wishes he was a little bit taller. Wishes he was a baller.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
I know that one.
He's.
I'm familiar. I have to take a little. I got to take, because usually when it comes to evaluating the like, you're much better at that than I am. I was never a fan of Heineke. You loved him so.
Well, he looked good in that playoff game against the Bucs.
He did.
He had a good game.
Yeah, he did.
He had a couple good games, but this is why NFL. This is the different. Like, imagine you're out on the golf course, right? And we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to tell a quick story, but imagine you're out on the golf course, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like I go to the driving range and I'm hitting balls like a fucking pro, straight farm. Like, what is that? 280? Come on, baby! And I'm smashing fucking golf balls, right? And then I get out on the course and I'm swinging and missing like 1 out of 3. I'm not even hitting a fucking ball. I'm like, dude, how the fuck was I so good? And that's because I'm not an athlete. I'm not a pro athlete. I fucking choke under the pressure.
You just described my baseball career.
There you go. You're out there in batting practice,
I was a
crushing
legend.
baseballs, hitting home runs all day.
I was a legend in batting practice. Just like,
Yeah.
But not that I couldn't hit, but much better at batting practice.
This is why those that can do, and those that can't play fantasy football. So Heineke, the minute it's kind of like what you see with Darnold too. The pressure gets to them and the mental isn't there. And with Heineke, the pressure got to him. He lost all his fundamentals and he can't fucking deliver a pass with accuracy anymore. And, and then it turns into a fucking mess. The brain is swimming. The coach is talking about how, quote, they need a franchise quarterback. There's a guy playing for them and the coach is out giving interviews about the lack of a franchise quarterback is really what's holding us back. So I think it's very, very clear that the team has given up on him. And at this point, could he have a good game? Sure. But I ain't counting on it anymore. I think it's a tough matchup at the Broncos. I like the Broncos -3. I don't really know what to do in terms of betting it. I'm probably not going to bet a game like this. It's a gross game. Don't even want to watch it. But I will say that I did include Teddy Bridgewater as one of my plays at quarterback this week. And John, you're going to like my reasoning because the matchup screams play Teddy Bridgewater. Washington has given up the second most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. They've been as bad defensively as they have been offensively, shockingly bad. And I think that Teddy Bridgewater could throw a couple touchdowns to Noah Fant and Cortland Sutton in this game and do enough at his very, very cheap price tag to pay off. What do you say?
When you adjust for the teams that they played against,
let's go to
Washington's actually the worst against the quarterback.
There we go. Let's go to the power rankings.
They are the worst against the wide receiver this year.
All right, the power rankings, your non-biased sheet here says that the expectation is for Denver to throw for 285 yards. That's a mean expectation for the Broncos here. And that takes into account Teddy Bridgewater and that has been at the helm all season.
Just compare that, because that's concluding all the games on there. Dallas, Minnesota is not on the slate, right? The Giant game's not on the slate. That's one of the higher totals here. I mean, it might be the highest outside of the
It's not the highest. I mean, Tampa's a little bit above. That's why we like Brady. Love Brady. Brady will be probably my top guy. And maybe the Rams are a little bit above because they've been throwing so much. But this is number 3. So no one's going to play Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to be 3% owned. No one's going to play Cortland Sutton. There might be the return of Jerry Jeudy. I'm not sure in this game. But, yeah, I mean, the play here is to hold your nose, swallow down the vomit, take it back down. Don't spit it out. That's gross. Take it back down. Burn your throat. Burns on the way down, John. Burns on the way down.
Don't you have an OnlyFans page that describes this a little bit better?
Spit or swallow. I have a video. I talk about that. Throw up a little bit. Take it down. If you're in a public place, you got to take it down. Private, spit it out. Spit or swallow. OnlyFans/spit or swallow. If you want to learn more about that. But as far as you're going to hold your nose, play some Teddy Bridgewater. It's going to feel gross, but at least you can stack him with pretty good wide receiver talent in Fant and Cortland Sutton. If Jerry Jeudy was back, I'd actually have some interest in playing him. There's not really any bringbacks. I think you could bring it back with Terry McLaurin, I guess.
You could stack this game.
Yeah. It's fine.
You could,
So it's a dirty, disgusting stack, but you can do it. So yeah, I mean that's going to do it, guys, for the NFL Week 8 slate of games. Remember the Sharp app contest. You want to download the app, leave a review, let us know. You let Texan know in our Discord, or you can hit up either the DFS Army or the Sharp app Twitter and let us know, hey, I downloaded the app. Dropped a review. That's all you got to do. You're going to be entered in a random draw to win 3 $100 DFS tickets. You can use them as you like for the spy. It's $300 worth of DFS. Top 10 are going to get a year of Sharp Pro as well. This is a lot of free shit to give out just to get an awesome app where I believe tomorrow, John, we're going to get the props finder tool, which is the greatest asset you're ever going to have. I've been waiting for it for myself all season long. I'm
I know
sick
you
of
never
looking
stop
up
talking
props.
about it.
You don't understand. I'm sick of looking up props. I got to fucking search all these different sports books, or I got to go to the game center. I got to go through a million different players to find Aaron Rodgers' projection for tonight. I want to know how many yards Aaron is going to fucking throw for without having to take a million steps. This is going to do it for you. So you're going to love this new tool. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow on the app. Get it, download it, review it, let us know. I'm not going to tell you have to give a great review. If you want to give a bad review, do it, but we're going to hate you forever. I will know who you are, and I will hate you forever. So keep that in mind. Not saying what to do, just saying I'll hate you forever. So that'll do it for this one, guys. Remember to sign up at DFS Army as a VIP. Promo code Geek gets you 10% off. Best time of year for that. For John Statsational, Alessia, and myself, Kevin the Geek Allen, good luck this week. Let's smash those bets. Let's crush those DFS lineups. I'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.